So gusty winds are going to be the main threat here, and one more cycle of moderate to major tidal flooding as we go into the night tonight. So here's where we peaked today for the high tide between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock this afternoon. We had numerous gauges across Hampton Roads that got up to major tidal flooding. That included Lynn Haven, that peaked at 6.2, Kip-to-Peak at 5.8, Smithfield got up to 5.2 feet. Both Sewell's Point and Fort Monroe coming in under major tidal flooding, but just barely. There were moderate tidal flooding at 6.1 and 6.2 feet, and then Yorktown also peaked at major tidal flooding at 5.7. Now, going into tonight between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, these are the tide projections for then. Now, they are lower than where we peaked at today, but they're still going to bring another round of moderate to perhaps at times major tidal flooding in spots. The areas that will most likely see major tidal flooding out in Smithfield again, the Pagan River, and Lynn Haven Inlet coming in around 2 o'clock in the morning at 5.7 feet. Kip-to-Peak over to Yorktown, Fort Monroe, and Sewell's Point should stay in moderate tidal flooding, but even at Sewell's, from about 5.9 feet, which is still going to be widespread for areas that normally monitor that gauge to get a feel for what they may be looking at. So moderate tidal flooding once again overnight tonight. So that's why we have the coastal flood alerts that are up for all of our coastal communities in Southside up through the peninsulas and the eastern shore. This is up through the day tomorrow. Now, tomorrow afternoon's high tide, or really midday high tide, will come in with some nuisance to minor tidal flooding. So as we go farther out, the impacts of tidal flooding will be less and less. The highest tides, as I mentioned, were this afternoon, and tonight will stay up there, but not as high as they were. So peak wind gusts today. It says so far, but that's, I think, where we're going to max out. Got up to 56 miles an hour down to Oregon Inlet, 55 at Nags Head. Elizabeth City coming with a 54-mile-per-hour gust. Cape Henry at 51. And the Norfolk International recorded a peak gust today. I think that was late morning of 47 miles per hour there. Elsewhere across the region, 48 miles per hour up at Walp's Island, 36 Edenton, 44 Manio, and even Virginia Beach, or to Oceana, got up to 45, and you saw that 51 out of Cape Henry. Chesapeake Regional got up to 39 miles per hour. So it was blustery everywhere. There were some spots like Virginia Beach and along the eastern shore that were for a period of time under a high wind warning. That was this morning and in early afternoon. Those have been discontinued and replaced with wind advisories that will stay active through tonight. And that's for wind gusts 40 to maybe perhaps 45 to 50 miles per hour along the immediate coastline. Those winds back off very fast as you move farther inland. The reason for that, why coastal communities are seeing stronger the winds, because they're out of the northeast, coming over the ocean. Lower friction doesn't slow down the wind speed much at all. Then it hits land, the frictional component of the land interaction slows down the wind speeds, almost throws on the brakes. So that's why inland areas see much less wind than what you're getting at the coastline, especially with the wind direction coming in out of the north and east. You get it over the bay. For the peninsulas, the eastern shore gets it over the Atlantic, and then Virginia Beach comes in over the Atlantic as well. Here's some recent wind gusts, okay? Notice they all are coming down. They're not as high as they were earlier. Rappahannock Lighthouse up to 39 miles an hour, 40 at Naval Station Norfolk. Got a gust here at Cape Henry at 38, 39 at Oceana, 25 at Fentress Auxiliary, and 24 down at Chesapeake, 30 at Currituck, 35 miles an hour recently at Elizabeth City, 43 at Duck. In Oregon Inlet, that was up to, what, 57? Earlier today, 56 at 37 miles an hour right now. So across the area, looking at some of our, well, I'll pull up the beach here, but can't see anything, obviously. It's dark, but we have some massive beach erosion going on out there. And still, you can barely make it out there in the bottom right or bottom left on your side. A lot of white caps out there still. So it is very, very rough. Despite the wind speeds coming down a little bit. And, looking at this image here at the Jordan Bridge in Chesapeake, we do have, I wouldn't say it's really a lot of rain falling out there. It's really the widespread heavy drizzle and mist. You walk out there and it's like walking through a fogger. There's just a lot of moisture out there and a lot of small, drizzle and mist blasting you when you walk out the door. So that's pretty much what we're dealing with. There'll be some more organized showers at times, but for the most part, it's the heavy drizzle and mist. So we can't really look at what's going on down in the Outer Banks. However, We do have a time lapse here at the Canal Zone. This is North Carolina 12 here. Watch how the conditions deteriorate. Okay, let me just go back to here and look at this at noon today. The dunes that were constructed and really held up quite well for Aaron, Imelda, and Umberto, and then that other no-name system we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago, held up okay. There were some weaknesses and some breaches in the dunes. But this has completely wiped out the dune structures here, and you can see the complete overwash of NC-12 on this particular location in the Canal Zone. And then if we back it up a little bit more, maybe you saw this image on World News Tonight with David Muir or on social media. There it is, where this guy decided to be a daredevil, I guess you can say, a risk taker. Shooting along NC-12 there, really risky. You know, you get one of those big waves to come on and knock that car right off the road and then take it right back out to sea. So no idea if he made it through or not. That's just a time-lapse snapshot of that current point in time. But you don't see it getting swept out in any future images there. And then you see the crews kind of getting out to the scene there and trying to, let me go back here, kind of see them trying to start to work on clearing it. That's one of those heavy machinery moving through there. Yeah, see it there in the bottom left, moving through there, trying to get going on it. That's going to be probably another day or two before they can really touch it. All right, wind gusts going forward the next 12 hours, 30, 35 miles an hour. You know, at the coast, maybe a little higher than that. They're oriented still out of the northeast, north-northeast, really. And then eventually they'll start to turn a little bit northerly. We'll say mid-morning tomorrow coming north. And then by tomorrow night, Tuesday, they start to turn more northwest. I guess on your side, it's this way. Coming from this way. So once those northwest winds come along, it's going to start to lower the tidal threat in areas like Smithfield. It's going to be blowing the water down out of the rivers, out of the James and the York. And even away from Sewell's and places like Lynnhaven Inlet, and places like that. So tidal threats will get less and less as that wind direction starts to turn around. This storm is producing some pretty large waves. I mean, look at these buoys up and down the eastern seaboard. There's one parked off the coast of Virginia, 15-foot waves there. I saw some video from Frying Pan Shoals. You know, that big, I think it's an oil platform or something that's off the North Carolina coastline. That's always just the go-to images. They got a live stream camera on there. Always the image to go to whenever there's something cooking off the southeast coastline. They were showing images there. Yeah, it looked pretty rough. Seas were quite choppy, and you can tell why. I mean, you know, 10 to 15, even almost 20-foot waves. That buoy off of New England there, you see there 18 feet. So seas are certainly very, very rough. And I tell you what, if you've been trying to take a cruise this summer out of Norfolk or maybe going anywhere along the East Coast to Bermuda, you had to plan that thing carefully because you had so many storms this season that have really brought rough seas along the entire eastern seaboard between Bermuda and the U.S. East Coast. And this is like the fourth in 6 weeks. I think that's done that. All right, here's a loop of radar, 3 hours. You can see that we have some areas of drizzle and mist. And a lot of times the radar beam will overshoot the low-level drizzle and mist. So even though it's not showing it everywhere, you walk outside, it's probably raining. A little more widespread activity down to the south here. And I'll move that in a second. But we've got some drizzle and mist in places over here in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, out by Greenbrier area. Fentress seeing some rain for you. And then more widespread, likely some light to even moderate rain here south of the Albemarle. That's going to be lifting its way off to the north and northwest here in the next couple of hours. Now, rainfall totals. We did underperform in rainfall. We were forecasting 2-4 inches, maybe some spots right along the coast higher than that. Of course, that did not come to fruition. Most spots picked up here, radar estimates here last 24 hours, under an inch, almost everywhere through south side. You can see there all the dark green shadings are between a ½ inch and 3/4 of an inch in most spots there. Up through the peninsula is more of the same, ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, maybe 8/10 of an inch in some spots. And then down to the south, these were the greater totals. The closer you got to the Albemarle Sound, approaching an inch, down through the Outer Banks, inland Dare County, over an inch in those places. So it was a good soaker, but it wasn't bringing out any flooding because of excessive rainfall. And we weren't concerned about freshwater flooding with this go-around. Okay, it was going to be the wind-driven tidal surges that would cause the flooding. Exactly how things played out pretty much. Now, our storm system here, as we look at it here on visible or now infrared satellite imagery and radar, you can see that the well-defined center of circulation hugging the coast between Wilmington and Cape Fear in North Carolina. And it has pretty much sat there. This is a 6-hour loop. It hasn't really moved. So what is happening here is we've got that dictated there area of low pressure. You see that secondary area of low pressure developing to the northeast. Now, the energy is now being spread out. It's not being concentrated with one storm system, which is why the winds are starting to die down, and they weren't as strong to begin with. That energy is now getting spread out over a larger area. It is a larger wind field, but not as intense. It's what we call a double barrel low. And that secondary low developing is actually going to start to steal most of the energy of the parent low, you could say, off the North Carolina coastline, and actually begin to enhance the impacts that are going to be seen in southern New England and portions of the Northeast here with that onshore stiff flow along the Jersey coast. That's going to bring about some moderate to major tidal flooding for them as well over the next 12 to 24 hours as we see our impacts start to lessen here locally. Let's walk through Futurecast. I've got on here wind gusts as well as rain and clouds. You can see here we've got that widespread drizzle and mist as we go through the overnight tonight. Just dreary. Great sleeping weather. You have a breeze up there, too. You see about tomorrow morning kind of orienting more out of the north. 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts. Nothing extraordinary there. Then as we get into midday, we're cloudy. Still some drizzle and mist out there as well. Breezy, cool. Highs only in the mid-60s tomorrow. And then Monday night, looks like another cluster of some heavy rain just offshore. Probably going to still have some showers around here. I've got a 30 to 40% rain chance tomorrow. Not widespread, but the risk is there. Also, the low cloud deck hanging on in there as well. More northwest winds tomorrow evening. And then overnight, Monday and early Tuesday, you can see another batch of showers kind of pivoting through from the northeast to the southwest, keeping the breezes up. I think Tuesday morning we see a little bit of a boost in wind energy. So we'll probably see another breezy period of time with gusts up and over 30 to 40 miles an hour Tuesday morning coming in out of the north and west with a few showers associated with it. Now, by midday, most of that activity will wind down. I'm not confident that we'll see any clearing happening on Tuesday as it looks right now. It just looks like we're just going to have this lingering energy here with a low cloud deck for a little while. It's not until we really get a west to northwest wind, that drier flow, that'll start to erode the cloud deck and give us more sunshine. So I still have a shower chance on Tuesday. I have the partly sunny in the afternoon. That's being optimistic. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but I wouldn't plan on it. Wednesday will be a better day. Wednesday and Thursday are going to still be breezy, okay? The winds aren't going to completely back off until we get to Friday and the weekend. Now, by Wednesday and Thursday, we see a little temperature drop, mid-60s for highs Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny. Looks to be nice days, but fall-like. It's mid-October. It should feel like it by now. And then this weekend, a little bit of a treat. Temperatures on Saturday in the low 70s, mostly sunny. By the second half of the weekend, maybe a few extra clouds. There are some indications there may be a few showers coming into the picture ahead of a cold front late in the day. Right now, we'll go optimist on this and say mid-70s, partly cloudy. Now, there are a lot of events this weekend. Town Point Wine Festival this week, Saturday and Sunday. I think if you're planning to sip some wine out there on the Elizabeth River, Saturday looks to be your day. Low 70s and sunshine, a light breeze, excellent wine sipping weather. Sunday looks to be okay right now, but that may be the one that's the wild card that may shift around a little bit. So planning things out for now for next weekend. Just keep that in mind. All right, folks, that's the latest. I just babbled on for a good 15 minutes about the weather here that we're experiencing. Expect improving conditions, although slowly, in the coming days. And we've got the weather impact alert up through midday tomorrow. We'll be back on the TV side of things at 11 o'clock tonight, myself and Connor Reel. And then tomorrow morning, Daybreak starts normal at 4:30 with Taylor Stephenson and the rest of the Daybreak crew. We'll see you back at 11.